An elite squad drops into a remote forest to recover a black box. The mission was supposed to take hours. Instead, the trees listened, and started talking back. They called it Silent Valley, a stretch of forest so dense satellites called it a blind spot. The intel, a downed recon drone carrying a black box with classified transmissions. Team, 4 men, Captain Reyes, Sergeant Maddox, Specialist Lee, and Private Harris. Elite, trained, and told to expect nothing but static. They dropped at 0200. Night swallowed the rotors. Nobody expected the forest to listen. The trees were close, branches like fingers. Radios whispered. Every step sounded amplified, like the forest was cataloging noise. Reyes signaled, "Move slow." Maddox took point, torch low, scanning. Lee scanned with the handheld receiver, a faint ping, the black box's beacon. Then the first voice came through the static, not from the radio, but from the trees themselves. Reyes, whisper, recording style. "Did you hear that?" Maddox had laughed on insertion. The forest didn't just echo, it replayed. It took sound and returned a shadow of it. They found the drone near a shallow ravine. The black box sat half-buried. Lee reached for it. Static on the receiver spiked. Then, in perfect, crackling detail, the trees repeated a phrase none of them had spoken yet. "We're staying here." It sounded like Harris, his exact tone, but Harris had been 2 meters behind. The hairs on their necks rose. Harris, shaky whisper. How did it? It wasn't mimicry. The forest was rearranging time. It took recent words, bent them, and spat them back, slightly off, like a recording warped by water. At first, it was small, a laugh, a cough. Then the forest started replaying things from hours earlier, voices they'd never heard. Snatches of radio chatter. Snatches of arguments. The trees stitched together fragments until the soundscape became a crowd. They tried to leave. Every call on the radio came back as a layered chorus. The squad shouted commands. The forest answered with those same commands, said in wrong places, by wrong people. Fear grew like mold. Maddox, urgent. Keep moving. Don't engage with it. But the forest engaged. It began repeating private things, regrets, confessions, names whispered in fear. Things the men had only ever said in the dark. By dawn, sleep-deprived and on edge, they found signs someone else had been there, footprints older than the drone crash, a tattered jacket. The black box's beacon flickered with an extra signal, like a second presence. And the forest's chorus turned specific, it started repeating one of their own voices back at them, but older, panicked. Reyes heard his father's voice on the wind, a man who had been dead years. Lee heard an apology he'd never voiced aloud. Harris heard his girlfriend's voice call his name from behind a tree. Each echo pressed on them like a hand on the throat. Reyes, low. This place, it's not replaying sound. It's replaying meaning. They argued, nerves snapping. Maddox wanted to grab the box and pull out. Lee wanted to study it. Harris wanted to run. The forest stitched their fear into new phrases and threw them back, now voiced by enemies they hadn't seen in years. They stumbled back to the LZ with the pieces of the black box and too many questions. The recordings they salvaged were corrupted, snippets of future phrases folded into past comms. The military flagged the operation and buried what they couldn't explain. In the squad's debriefing, every man heard the same thing in the quiet, the forest repeating one final line, not in their voices, but in the valley's own ancient tone. We remember. Operation Silent Valley went into the files as a retrieval op. But the men who went in came out with something else, a warning that some places keep records not written by us. If you want more military horror missions and strange operations, subscribe and hit the bell. This was Operation Silent Valley. Don't whisper in the woods. They might answer back.